Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching GEEKCASTER, everything sci-fi, fantasy, and pop culture commentary. I'm here, Michael. We've got Andrew. We've got Mr. Bussy. And of course, we've got Corey. The one, the only 1970s album cover Davis.
The first one we had, when it was just the black background, I see what you mean, Seven. He had the worst thing first. Before, it was looking kind of albumed up. It was kind of get your copy now.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world today, and we hope to talk about a good portion of it. At least we're going to attempt. So, I know, Dayveonne, you mentioned Looney Tunes is doing something. So, since we're going to go with the animation vibe, we got to talk about Incredible. Season 3. Overall, before we jump in, what do you guys think of Incredible? Invincible. Sorry.
Okay, Invincible.
Season 3.
Tell me that you haven't watched a single episode of the show, Seven, without saying I haven't watched the show.
I've watched the show.
But let's talk about it. But Invincible, Season 3.
Yeah.
I'm going to let y'all go first because I think I may have... I've been rocking with it pretty much since Season 1.
Right.
I think it's the show is incredible, to phrase it.
Yeah.
This last season, lots have happened. It's one of those shows where it's not self-contained. It's like things happen and then they progress and carry on to the other seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So in the wider, I guess, chronology of the show, this one is just as good as the others. But for me, there are certain moments that I think stuck out more than others. But I'm gonna let y'all take it away. Those who else have seen it, y'all go first.
Because I don't have that much negative things to say about it. I'll just quickly go what I didn't like. The cutaway. Just adding extra time just to say we have a full episode. The random cutaway stories, I think we can, for the most part, do without it. There were like maybe 2 that I could see are justifiable, but a lot of it I thought was unnecessary. But as far as the gore, keeping you on your toes, what's going to happen next, I think they deliver consistently from season 1 to what's your take, Corey?
I think each season increasingly got better, and I think they just set the new standard for animation shows. It's season 3 probably was the best so far, and I get what you're saying with the cutaways, and I did feel like they kind of dragged it out in a little bit in certain parts, but overall, I think it was very well done.
What are you thinking, Dayveonne?
Same thing. Everybody hit the nail in the coffin.
Okay.
Okay, I'll give a little bit of pushback in way of the cutaways.
Okay.
I think that in a world that borrows from, I would say, like quite a few different comic book franchises, it borrows stuff from DC, it borrows stuff from Marvel. You have this whole, not even just a world, a multiverse of characters that you got to kind of keep track of. I like that Robert Kirkman will take the time to flesh out and show you sides of the superhero genre that you typically don't look at. When you've got like a group of bad guys, you have like a bunch of D-list bad guys, okay? In Marvel, for example, there's the Wrecking Crew, okay? Those are like the just thieves that rob stuff. They're super strong,
right?
And they got a motif for using like hard hats and working man's labor and stuff like that. What if you had a moment in an episode where you actually saw why those guys stop and do villain stuff? Because Invincible does stuff like that. It'll cut away and show you what the life of average supervillain mook.
I give you that.
I appreciate that. I don't want to sit there in character, posing. And there's times where, all right, fine, the superhero's getting laid right now. So let's cut away and focus on some other character. I don't know. I kind of appreciate that. I like that the show takes its time and kind of just fleshes out that multiverse like that.
You talked about that scene where the 2 guys why they were robbing.
You didn't even know they were a couple until you had that moment in the episode. They were just 2 guys that they fought way back in season 1.
Correct.
I'm like, I remember that guy with the elastic thing and the other dude who was like, you didn't even realize they were a thing until you see them living together. They're trying to get a job. Right. They're working at the fast food joint. They botched that. And then times get so tough That's like, yo, dude, we just got to go do some villain stuff, homie, until we can make ends meet.
Right.
And you're like, oh, and then they get thrown in jail. So it's like, ooh, now it actually, Invincible defeats them. The consequences, that cause and effect that's been prominent throughout the entire show. For every action, there's a reaction. You now see, oh man, when Mark does stuff like that, yeah, people get thrown in jail. Yeah, folks don't get to eat that week. Yeah, people die. Right. So I don't know. I kind of love that about it.
Yeah, but on the flip side of that, you also have that moment where he went to the future for no apparent reason at all that didn't add to the story and didn't progress either his motivation or what with those twins who came from the future and he had to go there and come back. What was the point of that? Like it did nothing but waste time.
We don't know that.
This is the
thing. They don't do things in a prior season that they don't pay off later. Invincible's really good for setting up stuff that carries over into other seasons. When you had the Martian dude show up, the mission that he goes on, I can make the exact same argument that you just did. Mark going to Mars made no sense. It did nothing. It progressed the story whatsoever. However, you then get the dude that jettisons back to Earth, and then you have an entire invasion that they're setting up now in season 3 that was all the way back then. So it's not, there's things that they'll do and then they pay them off later. I don't think that Mark going to the future was just useless. He went back and saw that, at some point in the future, he leaves, Immortal's still around, and a world where there's no Invincible and it's just like Immortal trying to hold things together, that world doesn't work. It becomes a dystopia real freaking quick, even where Mark is good.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So then, I don't know, man. And then you got like the twins, they'll probably come back. I don't think that, because you get characters that die off too. The twins could come back and take a spot on a superhero team someplace else, for all we know.
If it works out, then great. But so far, I don't see it working out because, again, it was kind of a time wasted. Like the world that we already have and the world that they're progressing to, it kind of makes sense. And I see where you're coming from. But until we get to season 4 and figure that out, it kind of looks as though it didn't really add any value. Well, we could have had more value already inputted. We already had the multiverse. We could have went more into big brain guy, I forget his name, like in his backstory, instead of going to the future that had nothing to do with the story.
Well, again, you say it had nothing to do with anything, but we don't know that yet. It's teed up. Right. Say that something's useless before it's even paid off is kind of premature, but I'll say that there'll be something for that. I don't think that they just introduce ideas just to let them slough off like that. They haven't done that yet in the series, so I don't know why they would start now suddenly.
That's a very interesting tactic. I didn't think about it, and I like the fact that you have a different view on it. So we could agree to say useless now, but we shall see. To be continued.
They teed up a thing. Again, I'm hesitant to call it useless. It was, you could say like, you could even like equate that to being it's a side quest thing that Mark did. And the whole idea is that Mark was trying to be on a date with Eve. So like is the idea that stuff like this will happen when Mark is just trying to live a normal life. Right? It's like the recurring theme of when you're a superhero, there's your personal life, but then there's the calling that you have to kind of do, even if it's to go to a random future that you have nothing to do with. Superheroes are still on call 24/7 like that.
What did you guys think of the callback to Pentor and Cobra Commander?
Where was this at?
So they I forgot what the villain was. Was he didn't use Snake. I forgot what it was, but it was basically a callback to like an episode of G.I. Joe. I thought that was interesting because a lot of stuff is making fun of.
When Cecil was young.
It was like he had a whole bunch of followers, and he was like, "We have to win." And
I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
Society. I think that's the Serpent Society.
Okay.
Is that them? Maybe I might be wrong, but yeah, I think that's them. They're kind of like again, they're everything. He links in like stuff with DC, Marvel, but yeah, GI Joe references. I could see that in there too.
Yeah, that was interesting because it went beyond the Marvel DC thing, and but again, we grew up with these images, so it's cool for him to like dip into other things. So that I thought that was.
They have like kind of sillier stuff like Seance Dog, and I guess we could segue that to Looney Tunes, Dayveonne. It was kind of like a jokey combination of Doctor Strange with like, I don't know, Oggy Dog or whatever his name was, like Og Dog or Hong Kong Fooey or one of those other silly Hanna-Barbera characters from back in the day, you know? So, but yeah, Invincible, man. I'm in it. I'm with it. The
Yeah.
writing has been on point. I'm waiting to see what they're going to do next with it because it's spiced up a lot.
Before we transition to something else, what's your prediction for the Invincible series? Do you think we'll see a season 5 or a season 10? Like, how much do you think we could stretch this out?
I heard that they're going to go as far as 8. I think there's like 8 seasons worth of Invincible. So
Wow.
as of right now, we're like about at the halfway point, I'd say. And apparently, their schedule is they're planning on releasing it like, if not yearly, then bi-yearly.
Hmm.
Wait time is going to get shorter, I think, overall for the production because we waited 2 years strong or something for between season 2. It's not going to be that much of a wait moving forward.
Okay.
So, we're in it.
We're in
in it.
So, Davian, what's the deal? I saw a poster. I didn't really give it much attention.
So,
What's going on?
ladies and gentlemen, some people already know about this movie. It's a Looney Tune movie. Pretty much when the Earth blew up. This features Porky Pig and Daffy Duck. So this is pretty much Warner Brothers trying to find a way to introduce and bring in the Wile E. Coyote other film, Roddy Coyote versus Acme. And so far, after watching the Looney Tunes when the Earth blew up, I really enjoyed it. It felt like watching a classic Looney Tune film in a feature film. We have that Space Jam feel or anything. The art style was pretty much not basic, but like the classic way, but a little bit updated. And Porky Pig and Daffy Duck did their thing. It's pretty
It's
much
all animation, or is
yes,
it?
it's all animation. So pretty much the story basis is Porky Pig and Daffy Duck are siblings. They inherit a house, and there's an quote unquote alien invasion.
Okay.
And
You enjoyed it.
Yes. It gives you Alien and the Thing vibe.
Okay.
I mean, we're
So
seeing a
last-
lot of this stuff which will happen because of copyright. So we're going to see
Yeah.
a lot of properties randomly going to come up with a movie. I'm not going to say I won't ever see it, but I'm not in. I don't know. I mean, what about you guys? Do you think?
I say give it a shot.
Give us,
the last Warner Brothers Looney Tunes anything I actively watched
Mhm.
might have been Space Jam.
Oh.
I haven't cared since. I know that they made another Space Jam eventually that apparently sucked, but
Yes.
And after I heard that, I'm like, yeah, I guess that's just what they do with the Looney Tunes characters. I was kind of curious if they were going to try and bring it back.
Right.
You can't really the level of comedy because to preface it, I grew up watching Looney Tunes as a kid, the original ones, the good ones.
Yeah.
You know, some of us old heads would now say. Back when Looney Tunes actually was funny, offensive, oh yeah. Not like when you go back and look at the footage of it nowadays, there were so many jokes in there that are so inapropos for today that it's like, I see why they would change it, but at the same time, that's what made it good. You're chopping the balls off it to try and make it now for audiences when it was rooted in this very specific type of comedy
right.
that isn't really a thing anymore. It's not that kids don't have the attention span for it. It's just that people's sensibilities are just so soft. You can't really say anything funny in a Looney Tunes joint anymore. You can't do anything funny.
I will say this. Give it a shot because there is some classic slapstick comedy in this film.
I will agree with Davion. I think I will watch it because a lot of people, especially nowadays, are going back to the older films that we moved on and dismissed from society and finding new value in it. So if we are going backwards to show, hey, this is how it used to be, that this was a theme back in the day, I think it'll be good to watch and experience. So I would be interested.
It's worth checking out. If not just out of curiosity to see what the differences and the similarities could be. You had they've done this a few times. They've tried to bring back older cartoon comedy shows. Animaniacs, they tried it, didn't work. What else was it? Help me out here, guys. You're in the '90s. What else was big back in the DuckTales?
DuckTales.
Which I rocked with DuckTales, but I'm like, that was kind of unnecessary. But they tried it just to see what would happen.
What's the property that everyone is the Gargoyles? They've been trying so hard to come up with something.
Yes. Yeah.
Just give me the Blu-ray. I'm fine. If they never touched it again and didn't
Right.
sully it with their modern crap, I'll just take the older copy and just be happy with that.
Mhm.
Just give me a full season of that, a full series of that. The original.
You think
Like,
that think they could pull that off? Do a live act?
I mean, it's not impossible, but I don't trust Hollywood to do it. I don't trust Hollywood. They'd make it their goal to make that gargoyle suck with how much they would modernize it and like take the balls out of it.
Okay,
I don't trust it.
so just to let y'all know, Rotten Tomato already gave their critic review of this film, and so far it's been nothing but good reviews. 87%.
This is for Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
trust them anymore like I used to. The last couple
I'm
years,
Rotten Tomatoes beat me to it 7. I'm like Rotten Tomatoes. I take it kind of with a grain of salt, and I just base it on whether or not I'm
All right.
interested in the movie. Is good.
Fandango says 89%.
Fandango.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say they're just as credible, maybe even a little less than Rotten.
yeah.
But hey, it's all right. The consensus is good. I'll get around to it. I'll check it out.
All right, I will not mention the film that I would mention because somehow we just to make fun of things and also to keep a perspective. I've been throwing this. You know which film I'm going to talk about?
I actually don't. I had the one.
Look at my face. Come on, man! You trashed the film.
Wicked.
I've trashed many films. That's what I'm saying. Is he thinking of the one I'm thinking of?
A famous singer's daughter did a film.
Wicked. Darn it.
Okay. So I'm just saying, but Rotten Tomatoes said, "Oh, this is great." Really?
Yeah, they gave that like what, an 80 or
Right.
something. Absolutely not. That's pure crap. I just look at it and be like, no, you're just wrong, Rotten Tomatoes, and then move on with my life. So yeah.
Let's move on to Companion. This was a film that there's no buzz. I didn't see a trailer. And see, this is what's wrong with the industry. I think it was a good film. It was better than the one we just referenced. Way better.
Vastly.
I mean, like,
Vastly.
it's like
Yeah.
way better. You know, like, and you could walk away with something. You know, you could walk away with some sort of message. You know, it kept it interesting.
Message aside, I enjoyed Companion just as a movie. It was a good little movie that you knew what the score was. I like how they unveiled it, the circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
Did we all see it before I even start jawing away? Did we all saw it? All right, cool.
Okay.
Nice. I thought that the unveil, how we discover that Iris is a robot, is good. I think that the circumstance is cool. Jack Quaid, who plays the villain effectively in the movie,
right.
He was great. I thought the cast did a great job. The setting was like, it was very, I don't know. It was like, it was minimalist, but they did the most that they could with the stuff that they had to set up, like the idea of a futuristic scenario where you have an android and the whole question of humanity. And as she becomes sentient, she realizes, oh my God, I'm a robot and I'm just with this dude. And I love that they have the dumb meet cute at the beginning of the movie. And you identify it. You know, we're film guys. We identify a meet cute when we see one.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, this is how they meet. Come to find out, that's just one of the parts of the program. I love that. It's like, oh, dude, it's like a readout. You just pick one out of a few, and then that's just how how she remembers meeting you.
I love how we didn't say spoilers, by the way.
And we're in that age, man. I guess we're forgetting, or people know
it's still worth it, even for what we mentioned so far. If anyone didn't see it, it's still worth checking out.
Yeah,
like you know, it's still worth it. It's actually a solid film. I wouldn't say it's the greatest thing ever, but it's a good film.
It doesn't aim to be. It's not trying to have all the messages and say all the
Which
things
is
and have
great, and that's what makes it. I agree with you 100%, Drew, because that's what makes it good. They're not selling you anything. They're just telling a story. You know,
even down to the big moment where you're gonna have people, to clarify, you're gonna have people that do try to chop it apart and find all the meanings and isms where there may not be any. But I would say just the same, even in the broader themes of what would be some of the themes that they explored in the movie. I guess free will could be a thing. What's up, Corey?
A lot of modern themes.
Right. Well, in terms of like a relationship or being with another person, the idea of like you giving to this person and you just serving a function, right? Ultimately, you realize in a relationship, you just serve a function for this person, and they kind of just don't really think of you outside of that, right? This could be male or female, whatever dynamic that you have in the relationship. What they kind of explore, it doesn't stop, and the whole film doesn't just try to like focus on a woe's me narrative with the main character. Iris, she's likable because she doesn't adopt this helpless Mary Sue personage. She's not the raging anti-male robot at the end. She's just herself. She's free from her circumstance, from the people that manufactured her. I kind of dig that.
Yeah.
I dig it. It's not trying too hard, I guess I'm boiling all that down to say.
Yeah, it's like a robot that has human emotion.
Which we could chop it up for hours. They made grave errors with those robots. In the world, just like tearing at the taffy and the thread, who mass produces robots that are effectively sentient but don't realize that they're robots? I watched enough Battlestar Galactica to know you don't do that. Like, it's a bad time. That's a bad time of waiting to happen. And then they made them effectively like, bang bots. You got them there so you can do your thing. They're personable.
right.
They'll act as your companion, but they don't know that they're a robot for the most part. We find out later on, they actually kind of, well, at least the one dude's robot. He knew.
I like the dynamic, and they didn't push anything. I mean, there was a straight relationship, a gay relationship, and it was just part of the story, and that's it. It just kept it moving. It wasn't trying to push any kind of agenda, because to your point, Drew, it was about people filling a need, and this need was filled by a robot. And what can happen if you fill that need by a robot, and if something goes not to plan?
I mean, you can extend that to human relationships. I mean, they do that throughout the movie. There's a constant comparison and parallel between human relationships and the relationship that Jack Quaid's character has with Iris. Okay, it's effectively the same thing.
Right.
It's the same thing that they kind of tell us, but nicely. They wouldn't say it like how I wouldn't just be like, "Yo, you guys realize it's transactional both ways, right?" But it's the idea that Iris is to Jack Quaid what the boy robot was to dude from What We Do in the Shadows, and in turn, the other girl that was with Sergey, she was a human, he was a human, but they had the same setup.
They had the same setup.
And the whole, you find out later on as the plot unravels, you realize this whole plot was kind of Jack Quaid and her plan to get Sergey out the way so they can get his money.
Right.
She pitches him on the idea, oh no, Sergey's an evil, woman-beating monster. We got to get this guy out of here. He falls along with it just to find out, no, he wasn't a good boyfriend. So now it's like, so that's the double cross, the betrayal, the shenanigans, the bull crap is right there in the same regard as the robot to the human. So I liked it. I liked it.
I don't know. I enjoyed it, but I don't think I'll watch it again. I feel like it was a good Friday night movie. Like if we want to go back to Redbox, like, oh, this is great, and then just put it away and never think about it again. I feel like it goes down that tier.
It's a good one. I can see that.
I can see that. You know what it is? Because there's so many things that jump out and different levels, which I think that's what makes it a good way of telling a story. But once you went through that ride, yeah, I don't think it's a ride you need to go through again. But I do think it's a ride worth going through. That makes sense.
I would say to anyone, it falls right into that genre of like sentient robot horror, right? Iris and Megan, they need to link up. They need to become homies.
I didn't get that from this film. Like, I really got the horror aspect because the robot pretty much is now aware that she's a robot besides a human. So
Mm.
It felt more of a suspense, finding out,
I could see that. Yeah,
not
I
a
could see that.
horror film, because it felt like you were cheering for the robot more than the human.
I mean, that was
Okay,
done
yeah,
on
I
purpose.
guess, yeah, where I drew that one, it's more along the lines of Get Out, where you have the character go into a situation,
Yeah.
they have to fight off the people that they're there with. But in this case, you're right. We're rooting for the robot. She's our protagonist. And it's the robot versus the humans, which was interesting,
Yeah.
mostly.
It just
yeah.
watching this movie kept reminding me of another movie, Her, with Joaquin Phoenix and their relationship, and I just couldn't get that movie out of my mind watching this one. It's just
Oh,
the same.
The drama element, because when you
Yeah.
show up, go back, I would say it's worth at least 2 watches, because when you go back and you notice that scene where Iris meets the other girl, right? How that dynamic, she knows that she's a robot.
Yeah.
Iris doesn't know. She just thinks that she's just being kind of like cold or callous towards her. But it's like you just said, Corey, it's the setup in Her, where everyone's kind of like, they look at him as like he's weird because he's the dude that has a robot girlfriend.
Mhm.
But we then find out later that, well, the homie has his boyfriend and he's a robot. So,
And nobody
it's
says anything.
And no one
Yeah,
really
exactly.
thinks about it. It's not an issue.
Right. Yeah, that's a little. I'm glad you brought that up because that's something I didn't even. You almost didn't. At least for me, I didn't think about or even process that because it was so acceptable until, you know.
Her,
Oh.
yeah. The movie Her kind of goes, it's more drama. It's more
It's
like,
way more drama.
it's a lot more drama, no real suspense, but it's the same dynamic, I think. Same like type of setup.
What's
But
the film with Megan Fox? That she's a robot, like a housekeeper slash
Oh, what is
companion
that?
bot.
Oh,
It was recent.
Yeah,
what is
I
that called?
forgot the name of it.
I know what you're talking about too.
I haven't
didn't
seen
watch
it.
that yet.
Yeah, I think I may know of it, but I haven't seen it.
Like, that's on the lines of that film, but it's just, that one was more horror. Robots start to feel like,
I didn't feel any. That's interesting. I didn't feel horror. I just felt like another Fatal Attraction movie is just with a robot.
well, robot.
Yeah.
Look, ladies and gentlemen, we're starting to realize what the world is trying to send us messages regards to AI and these robots.
Well, we're already kind of there. It's funny how,
Yeah.
like, year by year, inching closer to Skynet. Because apparently, Dayveonne, what you told us behind the scenes is they use AI to screen people for jobs nowadays, like to hire people. I mean, again, we're making the decisions of who gets hired. We're letting the robots choose who gets hired. Eventually, the robots are going to decide, y'all, these humans can stay, the rest of y'all can go. Like,
Right.
we're going to get there.
We're definitely, yeah.
The movie you're thinking about is Subservience with Megan Fox.
Subservience. Yeah. She looked great in that movie, by the way.
I gotta watch it.
I saw the one shot of her when she's unveiling thing. I'm like, that's Megan Fox. She's, yeah. But
What is that, Drew? How's that go again?
she kept it up, I guess.
She kept it together.
I'm a huge Megan Fox fan, but I don't think that she's ugly or nothing. But she's looking all right in that one.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
doing her thing.
not a huge fan, but I was like, all right, okay. Because you know what it is? When we see a lot of people that had their little time of being the hot thing in films, they disappear. Then they do some random film, and you're like, oh, you not the same. What happened?
Yeah, you peaked. Oh, snap. She's wilted. No,
She's a runner. She's a track star.
she's wilted. Oh no. What's the next? Quick, get the next one in here. We all love her now. It's like, all right, Hollywood, that's how y'all do them.
So, all right, so we're gonna end right here, and for those that are watching us on the old Twitch live, thank you, and of course, if you're watching us on cable, appreciate you. You'll just see the other half of this next week. Of course, if you're at GEEKCASTER.com, you can just click on the next video, or if you're on Instagram on GEEKCASTER. Thank you very much. You're watching GEEKCASTER.